Coming up, a rapper who was hired as a dance coach to teach steps to the two teams playing at the Super Bowl.
Casey's Top 40. American Top 40.
From Hollywood, it's the Super Bowl of songs on American Top 40. Hi, I'm Shadoe Stevens with the 40 favorites on radio, direct from the Billboard chart. This Super Bowl weekend, a world-famous superstar scores the 50th Top 40 hit of his career. We'll hear classic bits of hits featuring a man in the countdown who's played with legendary groups for more than 20 years, plus special Super Bowl surprises as we head for our hit goal, number 1. And spending their third week at number 1 with All for Love, Color Me Bad. Are they all for 4 weeks on top? There's only one way to find out. Here's the kickoff. Shadoe Stevens at American Top 40, and now from the sports desk of the AT40 Trivialogical Research Center, we're up to a special edition of Everything You've Ever Wondered But Dared Not Ask. And because the football game of all football games, the Super Bowl, is all over the news, perhaps you might have wondered about Super Bowl heroes who've scored on the charts. I know I did. Well, it has happened. Listen to this.
The way to live. I'm so lonesome I could cry.
That's a remake of I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry. And in 1976, it managed to chart and reach number 91. It was by a singer much better known for touchdown passes. In fact, he quarterbacked the Pittsburgh Steelers to a record 4 Super Bowl victories between 1975 and 1980. Nowadays, he's a network football announcer, Terry Bradshaw. And we had another hit from not just one Super Bowl player, but an entire Super Bowl team. Just 4 years ago, they rapped their way onto the Billboard Hot 100 with this record.
You know we're just strutting for fun, strutting our stuff for everyone. We're not here to start no trouble. We're just here to do the Super Bowl shuffle.
At the end of 1985, the Bears released that novelty rap record called the Super Bowl Shuffle. The benefit record to help feed the needy in Chicago featured solo rapping from 10 Bear players, including running back Walter Payton, quarterback Jim McMahon, and the human appliance himself, William the Refrigerator Perry. It rushed to number 41, making the Chicago Bears the first pro team of any sport to have a hit single. It was a novelty rap record by the Chicago Bears, who called themselves the Shufflin' Crew. They went on to win the Super Bowl that year by the biggest margin in the game's history, 36 points, beating the New England Patriots 46-10 in Super Bowl 20. And those are two hits by Super Bowl stars of the past, and now back to our Super Bowl of songs. I'm Shadoe Stevens, and here's that song with words just about every American knows. The lyrics were written almost 200 years ago, and the melody is even older. So let's dust off the old AT40 book of historical songs. Here it is. In 1775, an Englishman named John Stafford Smith composed a song called An Anacreon in Heaven. It was even a very popular tune in the early days of the United States. And then, during the War of 1812, while Fort McHenry in Baltimore was under attack, a lawyer named Francis Scott Key was inspired to write patriotic lyrics to go with that melody. And 59 years ago, this month, 1931, Congress voted to make this song the national anthem of the United States. One version actually made the pop chart in 1968. Jose Feliciano sang it to open the 5th game of the World Series in Detroit, and they put it out as a single, and it hit number 50. But now, for the first time, our national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner, hits the top 40. This version was sung at Super Bowl 25 in January, and the response was so terrific that the singer's record company decided to release it as a single. This week, it debuts on the Hot 100 up at number 32. Here's Whitney Houston.
Oh, say, can you see? Casey's Top 40.
I'm Casey Kasem, counting down the biggest hits in the USA. Well, now we're up to the latest hit for a rapper who was hired as a dance coach to teach steps to the two teams playing at the Super Bowl. You know, football teams have coaches who deal with tackles, with kickers, with quarterbacks, with just about every aspect of the game. But this past year, two teams also hired a rapper to teach their players to dance. If you're a regular football fan, then you know that when a lot of players score a touchdown, there's nothing they like to do more than a sort of victory dance in the end zone. Ickey Woods of the Cincinnati Bengals, for instance, is famed for doing a dance called the Ickey Shuffle. But most football players just kind of do what they do, which is move around a bit, do a couple of steps, and then go back to the sidelines. So to help choreograph the players for this year's Super Bowl, the teams hired one of the hottest dancers around. They hired the man who brought us a whole new style of dance in the video for his #1 smash, You Can't Touch This. They hired MC Hammer, the rapper who now just goes by the single name Hammer. He was named official Super Bowl dance coach. And together with his posse, Hammer came up with a bunch of fancy steps for the players to do in the end zone after touchdowns. Then Hammer taught them to the players and demonstrated the steps on the field right before the game to entertain the fans in the stands. And did the players actually do Hammer's steps during the Super Bowl? Well, not really. They just kept doing what they do. But the crowds in the stands absolutely loved Hammer and his fancy footwork, and they gave him a big round of applause. This week, the rapper who dances like no other dances into Casey's Top 40 at number 37 with the fourth of our 5 debuts. Here's Hammer with Too Legit to Quit.
Casey's biggest hits.
5 years ago this week, one of the biggest hits in the USA was by a superstar who recently made an appeal for the children of the world in front of an audience estimated at more than 1 billion people. I'll have details and that big hit after this.
Music. Thanks to rap sensation Hammer, the Atlanta Falcons football team was fined $10,000 after their playoff game against the Washington Redskins. Despite previous warnings, the Falcons broke an NFL rule that states no unauthorized people are allowed with the team on the sidelines during the game. So the fine was too legit.
Casey's biggest hits.
5 years ago this week, one of the biggest hits in the USA was by a superstar who recently made an appeal for the children of the world in front of an audience estimated at more than 1 billion people. It was at the Super Bowl at the end of January where the Dallas Cowboys defeated the Buffalo Bills. The halftime entertainment was the most ambitious show ever mounted, involving a cast of thousands. And in the middle of it all was the one man who, with the eyes of the world upon him, reminded us that children are the future of the earth and that no child should ever go to sleep hungry. His philosophy of personal involvement can be traced back through his music, through songs like We Are the World, Heal the World, and a song that was one of the biggest hits in the USA 5 years ago this week. Here's Michael Jackson with Man in the Mirror. Well, now we're up to the latest hit. For a band that learned the hard way, it's not always a good idea to invite the audience on stage to dance. It was a few months ago that the group called Everclear was playing in Boston at a popular club called the Paradise. Everclear attracts a fair number of moshers, rowdy guys who slam into each other, jump on stage, and dive into the crowd. Usually the other moshers catch them, and nobody gets hurt. But that night, things got a little bit out of hand at the Paradise. Lead singer Art Alexakis yelled at the audience to come on up and do some stage diving. Well, the next thing he knew, 2 of the biggest human beings he'd ever seen climbed on stage. They turned out to be 235-pound quarterback Drew Bledsoe and 305-pound offensive lineman Max Lane, 2 of the stars from the New England Patriots football team. What happened next? Well, let's put it this way. The next day, Drew and Max appeared on a local radio station to say that they were glad that no one was seriously injured when they leaped into, or more accurately, onto the crowd. Drew Bledsoe said apologetically, "Next time, I'll stay in my seat." This week, the band that learned its lesson the hard way moves up 4 notches to number 29 on AT40. Here's Everclear with Father of Mine.
American Top 40.
From the rising stars to the superstars, we have them for you on American Top 40. Well, now we're up to the song The Call by a supergroup who answered the call of the NFL, singing the national anthem at the Super Bowl. This weekend, tens of millions of people throughout America and around the world will be tuned to the 35th Super Bowl in Tampa, Florida, a match between the New York Giants and the Baltimore Ravens. But there'll also be a large number of fans watching the Super Bowl for reasons other than football. That's because they're fans of the act that's been selected to sing the national anthem at Super Bowl 35, a group that'll be preceded by R&B legend Ray Charles, who'll sing his version of America the Beautiful, which means to match Ray Charles, the Backstreet Boys are going to have to put on one heck of a performance of the Star-Spangled Banner. But then, putting on great performances is one of the ways that Backstreet has managed to reach the top. And this week, the Backstreet Boys rocket onto our survey all the way up at number 29, making this song, The Call, our highest debut.